Joining in on the Apple versus Epic battle, Google as a VPN, and Wordle. This is Mac Voices. This edition of Mac Voices is brought to you by the MacVoices Slack, available to all patrons of Mac Voices. Sign up today at patreon.com/MacVoices. Welcome to Mac Voices. This is the talk of the Apple community, and I'm Chuck Joyner. Folks, it's Tuesday night. This is Mac Voices Live, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific, whatever time that is, wherever you are. We are live on Zoom, on YouTube, at youtube.com/MacVoicesTV, and you could be live in the chat room with us. We have people filing into the chat room as I speak. We'd love to have you there. So if you're here tonight, great. Welcome, chat room. And if you are not here tonight, then be here next week. Just tell your favorite voice assistant to remind you that you want to be part of the Mac Voices Live broadcast. So we have a bunch of stuff, a bunch of little odds and ends to pick up on this week. So some interesting. I think we have some disagreements among the panel members on some of those, which is always what makes it fun. So let's go around the room, see who's here, and then we'll get to it. I'm going to reverse it this time. So first up, that makes Mr. Mark Fuccio first up. Mark, welcome. Good to see you.
Hello, Chuck. Hello, other members. Hello, studio and a live stream audience. It's good to be here.
We have a studio audience. Cool.
Don't we? I mean, virtually.
Virtually, okay. In front of a live studio audience.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, I have two dogs here, so I have a live audience.
Okay. That works. That works. Next up, Mr. Jeff Gamet, the guy that keeps costing me money every time he shows up. Jeff, it's good to see you.
It's good to see you, Chuck. Also, you're welcome.
Yeah.
It's, I'm not going to coax you into spending money unless it's worth it.
And that's the problem, because you keep recommending things that are absolutely worth it. So I give you credit for that.
Yeah, I'm not going to tell you to spend your money on crap stuff. Life's too short for that.
Thank you. Beside him, at least on my screen, Mr. Jim Ray. Jim, welcome. It's good to have you as always.
Hello to the future. If you're watching this on YouTube in 2121, go watch something else.
It's 2022, Jim.
21.
Yeah, but if they are watching it in 2021, they really are seeing it in the future, because we're in 2022. Chuck, time is wibbly wobbly, big bally thing up. Just don't blink. Whatever you do, don't blink.
If YouTube is still around, this what we're saying now is forever.
Yes. So this is a historical podcast.
Yeah. So I'm saying if you, the viewer, are watching this 100 years from now, I recommend you not do that. Find something else to watch.
Thanks, Jim. Thanks. Nicely done.
If it's 99 years from now, then keep watching. This will be right on topic.
David Ginsburg, get me out of this, please. Welcome. It's good to have you.
Good to be here. And so we need to get out of this. And like I said, snow's on its way. So we're just glad to be inside and hanging out with you guys.
Yeah, for those that don't show up regularly, somehow Jeff and David like to give me weather forecasts for my upcoming weekend. Yeah, so what they seem to get on Tuesday is what I usually get on Friday or Saturday. So thank you guys. Thank you.
Sure thing. We've got your back, Chuck.
Happy to serve you.
Costing me money and giving me bad weather.
No, Jeff cost me money too, so you're not alone.
That's true. So the first topic tonight, I know Mark has a hard out in about half an hour, and I wanted to make sure we got to this because he suggested this topic. And that is the states, among others, piling on against Apple in the Epic legal action. Mark, I'll let you talk about what you think about this, because it is getting very interesting.
It is. The background image there is the two Tims, Tim Cook and Tim Sweeney of Apple and Epic, respectively. And the woman in the middle is the trial judge, Judge Yvonne Gonzalez Rogers-Gonzalez, or Gonzalez-Rogers. And she issued some preliminary decisions last year Apple interpreted them as a win, sort of Epic kind of interpreted them as a win, and Epic is appealing the case. And I think the news is that last week it came out that 35 states and Microsoft are trying to file an amicus brief to contest whether Apple, contesting that the judge ruled incorrectly, that Apple does in fact have a monopoly on its app store, and trying to assert other reasons of why Apple should provide for alternate payment mechanisms and the things. And the thing about this that is sort of significant to me is if you have 35 states, that's like herding 35 cats. All these attorney generals are going to want something different, and I'm just concerned that even though the joining the trial has fairly well-defined parameters, I'm just worried that this thing will snowball and get a life of its own, and we'll see all sorts of other action around the country to come after Apple, not just for payments, but for the whole litany of reasons that people object to them. So I think this is something that bears watching. What do all you other guys think?
They're not joining the trial. They just filed a brief.
Yeah. Correct.
In support, though, of Epic's position.
Yeah, but I mean, they just filed a brief, so it doesn't, the judge can read it, not read it. It doesn't, I don't think it complicates anything. It just says, we'd like to weigh in.
There you go. Yeah, it's about being able to have your say, so to speak, in court without actually having to commit to the case in any way. And now, while an amicus brief can be something that a judge takes into consideration, it doesn't mean that everyone is from a legal standpoint piling on, because there's no requirement that the judge act on anything in any of these documents.
Right. And that's, as I said, that relative to this court case, it's very narrow. I think the broader concern is that this opens a Pandora's box, so to speak, of other issues that Apple's already, they're seeing them in Korea and Netherlands and elsewhere. So Italy, I believe, too. So I'm just worried that with 35 independent states out there, this is something that may have the potential that may get out of control very quickly.
Well, I don't think that has anything to do with this lawsuit, though. I mean, it was already pretty clear that jurisdictions all around the world are going to legislate.
So I want to be sure that I've got this right. So this has to do not with the monopoly question and side loading. This has to do with the payment methods. Is that correct? Or does it have to do with both?
Okay, so there's two things here. One is, the court case is fairly narrow and it's on payments. But as we know, there's a whole litany of other things that competitors object to for Apple. And I'm thinking that the start of these 35 attorneys general, this is just a start of action in other cases, other venues, other court proceedings that will develop into a problem for Apple. Again, I don't know how I can. Maybe I'm not making myself clear that the current case is very narrow, but I'm thinking we have a whole lot of politicians out there coming into an election year, and that we may see this thing blow up as the year goes on.
Well, Mark, the big blow up that I can foresee coming out of this is the proverbial. Do we have an explicit rating on the show?
Yes.
The crap storm, the proverbial crap storm that could be coming down the pike, and And that's because with 35 different entities all filing amicus briefs, I mean, yes, that's kind of telegraphing, hey, we want a piece of this, and we have some ideas about how to regulate this. And this is kind of a free way to get some feedback potentially on their case ideas. So the crap storm comes when you have all of these different states and entities coming up with their own thing that they want done, and not necessarily being completely in lockstep with what the other states want. And now it creates this whole spaghetti mess that then ultimately has to be sorted out in another court later on, or they all have to come to a consensus on what they want done. For the medium term, I think for Apple, this is actually a good thing, because there's no way that all of these different entities are going to be able to get to get in sync with each other in a reasonable time frame. And so that's just going to keep dragging the whole thing out and give Apple more time to work on whatever their defenses are going to be, whether that's an in-court defense or proactive action to try and create a preemptive strike, I suppose, to cut off the legal fights. But yeah, there's a crap storm coming, a big one.
Yeah, and don't forget, the U.S. Senate and the U.S. House of Representatives had hearings last year, and I think they'd like to do. I speculate they'd like to get involved and add to the noise and confusion about this.
Interestingly enough, I looked through the states. California is not part of this. The rest of our home states are. So just in the fact of a state as large as California, especially Apple being based in California, I'm surprised that they're not involved with this. With this,
I suspect that Apple being based in California has something to do with that.
Yeah, maybe.
But they're already like Arizona was trying to pass a law changing the terms of the App Store. The Netherlands has already, said we're not going to, the way they're running the store is, we don't agree with North Korea. And, Apple has sort of waved this, red flag, and the bulls are going to charge. I think this case is just, one minor, looking back, if we look back 10 years from now, this will just be probably a sideshow as far as this case goes. But the real action is probably going to be in legislatures, both here in the United States and around the world. Basically Apple has set themselves up as if they're the final arbiter. And in the long run, governments don't like that much.
No, Jim, but
go ahead.
The thing that bothers me about this, though, is the fact that there are that many state attorneys general, jumping in on this.
They're just filing a brief. I mean,
well, but even so, Jim, it's the idea that it leaves the impression with someone who doesn't pay attention that with this many people piling on, Apple must be doing something wrong. And that's the part, I guess, that bothers me, is the optics of the thing, because I feel like, okay, it's a chance for them to get their names in the paper or on the news sites, I should say, as we're fighting back, we're tough on big tech, and with not really understanding what the implications are here, and I get more concerned about the sideloading part than the payment thing.
Yeah.
There are a lot of different ways that you can work around that. And sooner or later, that's all the payment systems are going to have to be responsible for something. It's the side loading, because that's where the walled garden starts to break down and the security of the users starts to be endangered. And that just seems to be talked about so little that, no matter how much Tim tries to, call, lobby, or talk sense to anyone that matters, they just refuse to acknowledge it. They just seem to say that Apple is bad in doing this and that they're operating a monopoly of some kind.
And Epic, Tim Sweeney, by extension, should really be careful, because you might get what you ask for, and what you ask for might not be what you realized. Because one of the things that Epic has wanted to do, one of the reasons that they want to be able to break Apple's hold on how payments are made, is because they want to do literally what Apple does. And they can't, because they're bound by Apple's terms in the App Store. And so if this ultimately becomes a thing where Apple is forced, presumably at the federal level in the United States, to completely open up payments the way that Epic wants, Epic is going to end up having to follow that same guideline or that same ruling, which means that in the end, Epic will not be able to do the thing that they really wanted out of all of this.
Jeff, what do you think about the rumor that's out there that Apple is asserting that, okay, maybe they will concede on the payment system, but they still want their percentage, 15% or 30%, depending on what's appropriate for the longevity of the app. That could give Epic exactly what they're asking for. They can have their own payment system, but it's still, I think, Apple owns the store, they own the distribution mechanism, and it's time to pay up.
Yeah. And Tim Cook was actually explicit about that. He said, I think it was in an earnings report. I can't remember where it was, but it's been in the last few months. Tim Cook openly said that even if Apple is forced to open up payments to any platform, that Apple is still going to take its 30% or 15% cut, and so in that sense, Tim Sweeney will not get what he wants, because what he wants is the Apple Store or the App Store for free. He wants to get his cut everywhere else and not give Apple their cut.
Yeah. So I think it's going to be interesting to see how this develops. In the interest of time, if no one else has another comments, let's move ahead to the rest of our agenda before I have to bail.
But before we bail, I say this with love. It's so cute how you say Amicus.
Amicus brief?
Right at the beginning, you said Amicus. And I just thought that was so cute.
Okay.
Well, that's okay. Maybe that's the way they say it in California as opposed to the way you say it in Colorado.
That could be. I mean, local dialects.
Yeah.
And in Texas, it's Amicus, y'all.
And here, for my money, in this particular case, it's called stupid. So anyway. Today's Mac Voices is supported by the MacVoices Slack. The MacVoices Slack is where you can connect with the members of the MacVoices Live panel and other MacVoices patrons. Get in on the discussions, agree or disagree with our opinions, and get your voice heard. Sign up at patreon.com/MacVoices. And thanks for supporting MacVoices. So the next thing up, well, I wanted to bring this one up. I'm going to insert one here that I'm springing on everyone, because I was just reading about this over dinner before the show. And that is that now Google is announcing that their VPN service is available on the iPhone. Does this bother anybody that Google that is going to be potentially be my VPN provider? Kind of one of the very things that I'm trying to protect from is saying, we'll take care of your traffic for you.
So I think if you distrust or dislike Google, you can hold that. But it's the way I look at it, it's more choice, and that's a good thing. If you don't trust Google, then don't use them. So, unless I'm misunderstanding something about the story, the news.
My big question about the story, and I have not dug into any of the details, because why start preparing for something at this point. But is Google offering a true proper VPN where they have no access to any of the content that's being processed through the VPN stream? Or do they have the ability to look into that VPN stream and cull data out of it? Because if they're not doing like real VPN where they have no access to the information in the stream, then it's just Google finding another way to
buy
to get more of your data, but they're giving you a little something for it, which is some protection on either end, but in the middle it's all open to them. And if Jeff, that's the case, then no, I would have no interest in that whatsoever.
Yeah, and I didn't dig into this. It struck me as very ironic that, you know, one of the things you're doing when you're using a VPN, I mean, sooner or later somebody is an endpoint. Whether you're VPNing back to your home and then your cable provider, you know, is looking at you, or whether you're using a VPN from home so your cable provider can't see what you're doing. But that VPN provider, I mean, if they wish, can tap in and see what's going on. And it just struck me as, you know, some kind of weird irony that Google is saying, yeah, we'll be your VPN provider. I mean, I'm with you. I think if it could be done right, and if it would be done right.
Well, actually, I think on this that you know, I'd have to weigh in here before I have to go. But on VPNs, there's a couple different dimensions. One is any website if you go to, if it's HTTPS and you can see it if you have the lock, you know, they create a unique session key. So, you know, all the bits flowing back and forth, you know, those are encrypted. You know, what is not encrypted is, in most cases, is the DNS lookups. So, you know, are you going to, you know, a reputable site or a sketchy site or a disgusting and illegal site? You know, so people can learn a lot about that just by watching, you know, sites that people go to. But through the HTTPS protocol, the traffic you know gets encrypted, you know, going up and going down. So you know, there is a lot of protection in terms of, you know, security. You know, a lot of reasons people like to use VPNs is they can masquerade as, hey, I'm in, you know, I could be in London. I could masquerade as, you know, I'm in California, so I can watch Netflix and, you know, other shows and things like that. But, you know, I think the other thing about that is maybe for a lot of unencrypted services like email and the like, maybe Google is trying to catch up or offer services analogous to what Apple has introduced through some of their relay services. You know, so that's, again, providing a level of encryption that is outside of, you know, it's other internet services beside the browser that they are securing and can get secured over a VPN.
The story says that the Google VPN will not allow masquerading your location. I think that, you know, nobody's going to make you sign up for Google's VPN. It's going to cost money. So, you know, it's up to you to decide whether that's something you want. And I'm sure you have to turn it on. You know, it's probably not going to be the best, most secure, and it's probably going to be far from the worst. I mean, in the VPN space, there are, you know, horrible, you know, a lot of horrible providers out there where using a VPN makes you far less secure than if you didn't. So this is a space that's full of scammers and bad actors. So, you know, I would guess that no matter what level of service Google has, they're going to pull up the average level of the reputability of the field. But, you know, if you have, you know, some particular super requirement, you might want to not choose Google.
But you also hit to the point. It's cost. If you go with Google One's plan, it looks like the $10 a month plan. If you have their 1 terabyte, 2 terabyte, I think it's 1 or 2, no, 2 terabyte premium plan, depending on the country, I guess. I think US is included in that. Then the VPN's already included. But I've used services like ExpressVPN and SurfShark, and both do masquerade where you are. So if I join the VPN in London or Canada wherever, and then I can watch Netflix. I don't know if that's what people's goals are with VPN. They want it in a place to keep them more secure and more private. But no, I think Apple's come a long way with the iCloud Private Relay, offering that. It's still pretty new and protecting us as it is. But VPNs are VPNs. You gotta think how does it work? And I mean, working in the corporate world, you got to use VPN. There's just no way around it. You got to keep things secure.
Yeah, it's my 2-minute warning.
The price that Google is charging for the VPN, I would expect a lot more out of it than what they're offering. For example, I use TunnelBear, and that costs me $3.33 a month, and I have unlimited bandwidth and up to 5 of my own devices on it. I can't share my account with a friend, which is fine because $3.33 a month, it's for me to use on all of my stuff, and it gives me the ability to hide my location, which in some situations that's actually really useful. I don't use it to try and appear as if I'm in another country to stream content, but there are times where it's actually really useful to be able to appear as if you're in another country, either to obfuscate where you are, or because the service that you need to use is geared for a specific country, or you need to see information that is unique for that location. And I mean, there's a lot of reasons to spoof your location.
Mark, I know you got to go. Thank you. Okay. Thank you for being here. Before you go, where can folks find you?
Best way, Twitter at Mark Fuccio, MarkFuccio, all lowercase, all jammed together, one word. So thank you all, and I think you'll have a great discussion on your next topic. So I wish I was there, but I'm not. So
duty calls.
Thanks, Jeff. Do you have a question or a comment? Okay. Well, everyone, take care. Have a good one. See you next week. Mark. Bye-bye.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess before we leave this, there's one point I want to make, and that is, Google's charging, ExpressVPN charges, a lot of the more credible ones charge. Please do not use a VPN that does not charge anything. Because that it makes it automatically highly suspect. They're selling something, and it's probably you.
Yeah, they're harvesting your data right out of what you think is a secure stream.
Right.
Yeah.
Go with a reputable VPN, and then SurfShark's another one I use. I feel very reputable as well. It's an ExpressVPN. Is obviously
like Jeff said, TunnelBear. Yep. TunnelBear, ExpressVPN. They're all very, very good, reputable, but you're going to pay for them, and that's the way it should be. So
absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I want to sneak in another one because it's just one of those kind of things that just keeps coming up. The New York Times bought Wordle.
Yes.
Does anybody care?
No.
Yes.
Okay. Yes. So we have a yes. Okay. We have a yes.
I totally care.
Okay. Why do you care?
Okay. Well, first, I enjoy Wordle. So I have a vested interest in what happens with the game. Selling to the New York Times means that ultimately, even though they're saying it's going to be free, at least for now, you're going to end up having to pay for Wordle at some point. But there was no revenue model with Wordle, because that's not what it was designed for. It was one guy writing this thing for one person. And then other people found the URL, and it kind of exploded, and now here we are. So selling Wordle to the New York Times means that now there's actually resources behind the game to keep it running and keep it in a state where it can actually support the crazy number of users that it has.
And it's staying web based because there's no apps. I am not playing it, so I can't comment on it. But
download it now, and you can play it for several years.
If you download the Wordle
Yeah, it's
site.
just an HTML file and one JavaScript file. I believe in Safari you can download it to an archive, save to archive, and play it offline, and everything's inside it.
So no cheating.
There's no server component, and apparently you can look at the JavaScript source and
which
get the cheat code.
I mean, considering the way this was created and why it was created, it's a very clever way to make this, and it was a path of least resistance.
No, but I'm saying, like, if you're worried that the New York Times is going to start charging for it, the page that you download now already has several years of the upcoming words in it. So you can save it now, and you don't have to worry about it for several years.
You also look at the New York Times bought Wirecutter, the website, and that was a very popular site to get tips and such. And they haven't been charging that for that yet.
Yes, they have.
Oh, yeah, they do.
Oh, they start charging now? Okay.
But their free access part is actually really generous. It's more than what most people are probably looking at in a month. So that's actually, it's nice the way they did that. But the New York Times, they also have other word-related games, and they actually have a game subscription.
Right.
And the word games that they have, from everyone I know that has a subscription to that, they really enjoy them, and it's like really good quality stuff. So this makes sense that Wordle, which really fits nicely with all those games, would end up in the New York Times stable. So here's my prediction. Wordle will be free for a while, but it's going to get changed where you have to have an account to log in.
New York Times, yeah.
And then eventually it will get rolled into the paid game thing. But by giving us a login thing, that means you'll be able to play Wordle on any device that has internet access, and your game stats and everything will be there. Right now, if I launch Wordle, even in a different web browser on my computer, it's there's no stats. It's a new instance of that game. It's a new user.
Yeah, because it's just running in your browser.
Right.
So it's keeping those stats as cookies.
Right.
In your local copy of the browser.
So New York Times will be able to fix that, or it's not fix that. They'll be able to address that. And so what I'm hoping is that this purchase turns out to be a thing that's beneficial, even though ultimately I know it's going to end up behind a paywall.
Okay,
but it may be a while before that happens.
The panel is back in the next edition of Mac Voices to finish up our Wordle conversation. Then we turn to Apple possibly accepting NFC payments on the iPhone and start a conversation about Spotify and Joe Rogan. That's all next time on Mac Voices. I hope you'll join us. Until then, and as always, I'm Chuck Joyner. Thanks for watching. Visit MacVoices.com for show notes and to connect with Chuck on social media. Get involved in our Facebook group or like our Facebook page, and get more out of your Apple tech with Mac Voices Magazine, free on Flipboard and on the web. And if you find value in it all, consider supporting us through either our Patreon campaign at patreon.com/MacVoices or by making a one-time donation via the PayPal link on our front page and in the show notes of each episode. You will join these fine people who help bring you Mac Voices. Advertising handled by Backbeat Media at backbeatmedia.com. Bandwidth provided by CacheFly at cachefly.com.